Mary Truth Talks. I am your host, Marianne, and this is the MTT Show. Before we begin, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and X, MARY_truths with an S. That's MARY_truths with an S. All right. Before we begin this fabulous show, I'm feeling real good today because there's a lot to unpack, ladies and gentlemen. But I have to always talk about MBE because it is our baby. It is what we are cultivating. It is a mentality that I highly recommend you invest in. The MBE mentality will help you elevate your life. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it will help you exercise the mind and body, because at the end of the day, you can't have one or the other. You have to have both together in order for you to actually elevate your life. So go on MBE's Patreon account, join the community, and elevate yourself. All right, let's begin. Oh man, I'm feeling good today. Aside from the fact that we had a really good workout before the show, but that's one of the reasons why. Another reason is that just the amount of stories is amazing. I couldn't stick to 5. I really had to just go all out today. So check it out. Candice Owens dodges TPUSA. J6 PipeBomber found, allegedly. Minnesota $1 billion fraud scheme. I wonder who did that. Obamacare fraud. Who would have thought that was going to happen? Tennessee election results are a warning. We will talk about that. Just a smidge, but we'll talk about it. Civil Rights Act is now in question because of Louisiana and Texas. Immigration crackdown, and stay until the end of the show because there's going to be a very important question that I need to share with you guys, because this is actually one of those topics that I am completely and utterly against MAGA for. MAGA is for this. I am against this, and stay until the end to find out what it is. All right. So let's talk about Candice. So before we begin, before we talk about, before we watch her video. So clue you in real quick. So there was a video that came out of the producer of the Charlie Kirk show, who also works in TPUSA and Turning Point. And he pretty much said all the things that Candice Owens had alleged about them as a company, about how the federal government tried to kill Charlie Kirk, according to Candice Owens, how Israel was also involved, all the stuff that she's been saying for the past 3 months since he's been gone. They put it out and told her to come and they will sort out all the questions and doubts that she has. And then she responds with this, anytime, any place, anywhere. We don't need any lawyers. I don't roll like that, She went all hood on them, And then they responded back on X telling her, okay, well, it's going to be on this date, on this time. And then she was like, wait, but hold on. I go live that day. What do you mean? Literally. And then she's like, okay, how about we do a virtual call? And then they pretty much said, no, we're not going to do that. So then she said, okay, well then I'm going to live stream your live stream and react to it. And that's where we're at, unless there's more and I haven't caught up to it. But that's where we're at. And then what I think is just retarded. All right, because the president used that word. I mean, I've been using that word even before him. But the fact that he said it now is more of you can say retarded now. Okay, it's okay. So, Laz is laughing. So, this chick plays hard, right? She's been talking all this shit for 3 months now. Okay. I actually agree with Nick Fuentes here. The fact that I agree with Nick Fuentes here says a lot, because there's so many things that he says that I'm like, whoa, a little overboard. But this particular thing, it's like, okay, first of all, it wasn't an invitation. They weren't inviting her on the show. It was more like, if you want to know the truth, then come and find it. You know, if you've been talking all this about, I'm just asking questions. That's her like loophole to like create like conspiracies that people want to obviously consume and subscribe to because it fits the crazy narrative that she wants to push. And it's like, if you really want to get to the bottom of the truth and all your questions, and you would show up in person, no matter what's happening on that day of yours, you would just be like, hey, let's reschedule, let's do the live another day, and let's just show up to answer all these doubts that we have. And of course, bitch chicken's out. Not surprised. She's all talk, no action. So let's take a look at this. This is let's watch the Nick Fuentes first, or you know what? No, that's fine. Let's do that. Yeah.
You can pick the place, you can pick the time. Turning Point USA decided it was a good time to issue a confirmation plus an ultimatum, a time and a date. Say we do it tomorrow. We don't need to plan for this. We don't need lawyers in between us, lawyer statements. It's not how I roll. I should tell you that they did not send me an email. They did not send me a text message. They did not coordinate anything with me. They simply made this midnight announcement and gave it a countdown. You can pick the place, you can pick the time. I say we do it tomorrow. We don't need to plan for this. We don't need lawyers in between us, lawyer statements. It's not how I roll.
Yeah, it's not how you roll, because you are a coward. Because you've been literally making money off this man's death this whole time. All right, I'm ready for Nick Fuentes.
This is your job. You're a YouTuber. She acts like she's...
Wait, that's not from the beginning. Is it? Go with... Oh, come on. They took off the best part.
This is your job. You're a YouTuber. She acts like she's a wagey. Like, oh, I got to check with my boss. This is your job. This has been your obsession and crusade for 3 months. Literally, what could you have going on? And I see some people already defending. They say, well, you'd understand if you had kids. It's Christmas time. Okay, I think you get a special dispensation. First of all, it's the 15th. People are working and going to school right up until Christmas Eve sometimes. It's 10 days before Christmas, okay? Second of all, I think her family would understand. Her whole family's dragged out. I think her family would understand. Maybe we could reschedule the family Christmas party to the 17th, the 19th. Go and do what you got to do. People will defend anything, I guess. Mm-hmm. But then it gets better. She says, well, I'm not going to go to Phoenix in person. I'll live stream their live stream. So you're too busy to go in person, but you're not busy enough to live stream the event from your house? Does that even make sense to anybody? You can't cancel your show talking about Charlie Kirk's death to go to Turning Point to ask them about Charlie Kirk's death because you're too busy doing your show. This is...
Oh my God. The beginning of that though was... That's why I was like, damn, they cut the beginning of that. Because his response, like, when his first reaction was, hold on. I have to do this the right way. His first response was, bitch. I was like, yes. That's exactly what I said in my head. I was like, seriously? Like, come on. How are you gonna... It's just... Honestly, to me, this is just ridiculous. This woman, it's very sad because I actually liked her like a couple years ago, and then like she just, I don't know what happened to her. I honestly don't care, to be honest with you. I don't care what happened to her. What I do care is that she is purposely misleading people the wrong way, and she is creating so much doubt. And when you create so much doubt, people will end up coming up with their own conclusions that don't even have logic, okay? Like, and put it this way, she literally was like, I think there was a video of her saying, oh, I had a dream about Charlie Kirk's death. Like, She's literally going off of a dream that she had. Like, do you understand where we're at right now? Like, it's not even about like evidence. It's not evidence-based. It's not, no. It's her dreams. Okay, bitch, what are you, psychic? Do you have like special powers or something? Okay, come on, bro. And the fact that people are like, oh my God, yeah, like we have to listen to her because she had a dream. Like, what are you, MLK? Oh, it's just, to me, this is just a psyop to get the coalition that Donald Trump and TPUSA made in 2016 to be fractured in order for the Democrat Party to take hold again. She is a Democrat Party, I don't know, like a pawn or horse, or I don't know, whatever. I don't know what position she is on the chess board. I just know that she's not on the side that Charlie Kirk was on, or that even Nick Fuentes is on. She's on the other side. I don't care if she believes in, the Bible. I don't care if she believes in conservative views. The fact that you are going out of your way to straight up create misleading information and doubt on a man's death that you personally knew. She knew the dude. She didn't know the dude, fine, whatever. You didn't know the dude, you're just grifting. But you know this guy. That to me is just, I'm sorry. You've lost credibility. You've lost respect, at least from me, regular chick on the internet. I don't think she is doing this with good intentions. That's all I'm saying. I think there is a very malice and just, I don't know what to call it, warped feeling that she thinks that she's doing this for righteous reasons, and in reality she's not. So we'll see what's gonna happen. I personally think that this is gonna make her lose all types of credibility, because at the end of the day, who should you rather believe? The company that's trying to keep what Charlie Kirk built together? Of course it's hard. Nobody's Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was the Charlie Kirk, and he's not here anymore. And they're just trying to figure out a way to keep his name alive by pushing the company forward. And this bitch is creating all types of doubts to destroy the company. So I think anybody with a rational brain and logic will just see this for what it really is this is a vengeful person. This is a person who is purposely abusing her influence to destroy a company that was built by somebody she personally knew. And I think this is all because of power. I think this woman has so much influence now that she doesn't know how to handle the power. And it's very typical woman, of course. Not all of us can handle influence and power appropriately, and she is a great example of that. So that's what I think about that, Candice Owens. And I hope that your credibility just goes down the drain, because you deserve it. So J6 PipeBomber found, and Jake Tapper from, what was it? Who's Jake Tapper from? Is he CNN? Whatever, doesn't matter. Jake Tapper said that he was white. It turns out he was black. Let's check out the J6 PipeBomber. Oh man, that was rich. I didn't put that clip because I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Take my word for it.
We start outnumbered right now. We are looking at Woodbridge, Virginia, and this happened just moments ago. We're going to pick up our coverage here. There were pipe bombs that were planted almost 5 years ago now outside the RNC and DNC headquarters near the U.S. Capitol complex. At the time, no one knew what that was about. Both political parties. So would that be political? Who knew at this point? Now, all these years later, it'll be 5 years next month. They have picked up a suspect in this. And the house that you see at the center of your screen, and maybe just a little bit to the right, is a car that they're also looking at. These are the federal authorities who are in that cul-de-sac in Woodbridge, Virginia, looking for evidence.
You got
And they've
money.
been coming
Those houses look
and
very
going
colonial.
From the car that we could see with stuff that they're bringing out to that sort of collection
Well,
zone
his daddy
that they've
has
made.
money, better say.
Don't know yet what the evacuation order would be for the neighborhood. Haven't been able to gather that kind of information. It's worth getting, as they will. And my guest last hour, Paul Morrow, of course, former NYPD and attorney, Fox News contributor, was saying, look, they may want to talk with other people right there, but right now they're focused on this house. One of the things that we know that they may be looking at or looking for are further evidences or devices, pipe bomb making devices, materials, that sort of thing, making sure that the house is not booby-trapped. So this is a huge job, and we don't have control over this live aerial picture right now, but if and when they pull out, you'll see how big the federal agency response has been to this and law enforcement. There are many, many people there.
I can only
The
imagine.
suspect, Brian Cole Jr., early 30s. We don't know a lot. But in the next little while, we've been told to expect the first live news conference that we will have gotten on this case in quite some time.
All right.
Moving
on to the next one, which is, I believe, News Nation. They did a really good clip about this. Look at that. It's a black dude. Who would have thought?
This cold case languished for 4 years until Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino came to the FBI.
We did not discover any new information. What we did, brought in a new team of investigators and experts, re-examined every piece of evidence, something that the prior administration refused and failed to do.
Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys. It was due to the diligent and incredible work of a team in the Washington field office that came in and just scoured through this over and over and over and over again.
All right, so there's more information about this guy that while I was putting this together, it was just coming out. So if you can find, put J6 Pipe Bomber and see what shows up now. But the left-wing media is already saying he was a MAGA. He was a Trump supporter. Because according to some anonymous sources, he confessed and said that he was a Trump supporter. So I don't, to be honest with you, I'm not falling for it. I'm not buying it. They did the same thing with Charlie Kirk's assassin. Same shit. Oh, he's a Trump supporter. He's a groyper. He ended up being a radical leftist who was a virgin and had sex with a dude and liked it. And then, after that, it just went downhill after that. Likes furries and all that good stuff. So this guy, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same thing. Same psyop, left-wing media says, oh, he's right, he's actually left. And according to the family, they said he was not affiliated to any party and that he was not a Trump supporter. This is what his family is saying, which is very similar to Charlie Kirk's assassin. While the media was saying he was a right wing and all this bullshit, the parents were saying, yeah, no, he was very leaning left. And he started fighting with his dad because his dad leaned right. So I'm going to believe the family of these people, not the anonymous sources. Okay, so that's just where I'm at there. Have you found anything?
No.
Okay, well, can you really quick see if you can see what news is coming up for, just put J6 Pipe Bomber. Let me see what pops up. See what the left is saying about it. Is there anything? Do you see it?
CBS.
Okay, what is CBS saying?
FBI arrest suspect in 2021 DC pipe bomb case.
Okay, but those are articles. YouTube it. Just put J6 Pipe Bomber. See what pops up. Because saw something about the dad was involved in some company that helps illegal immigrants or something along those lines.
Something from The Hill. FBI arrest DC pipe bomb.
Oh, God. We would have to scout the...
FBI reveals new details in J6 pipe bomb arrest.
Okay, let's see what
that was 1 day ago.
Oh, no, never mind. So nothing current. Okay, so everything that I have is what it is. Okay. All right, so yeah, the dad supposedly has a company that helps immigrants. So, people are saying that, well, then we can't assume that he is right or a Trump supporter, considering his father was supporting the illegal immigration process, and he sued a government department because of the fact that when Trump came in, the money to his company was cut because of the fact that they were no longer allowing the immigration process that was happening under Biden's administration. So this, to me, this is what this looks like to me, firsthand, without much intel. This looks like this young man who's our age was very manipulated by whatever he was consuming, like like all the others. And he decided to put bombs on both places. So there was no partisanship, both of them, So to me, it's like a symbol of like, I don't trust the system, right? The system should crash, should burn all down, right? So that doesn't seem that, that can be either far right or far left because they both agree on that shit. And then at the same time, because that was happening, he just happened to do that on January 6th when there was a bunch of people going into the Capitol. So it almost looked like there was some type of coordination, because what are the odds that this man decides to put these two bombs on the same day of the J6 event, right? I find that weird. Like, why that day? It could be any other day. And then by doing that, then you're pretty much forcing resources of the Capitol Police to go to the bomb, because obviously you have to prioritize that over the mob. And the fact that the chief of police was not being allowed more resources, optic wise, it looks like the Capitol was getting taken over by people that didn't have any weapons, but it was taken over optic wise. So to me, this looks a little sus. I don't believe in coincidences. I find it very interesting that that man decided to put those bombs on that day. I also find it weirdly odd that same day the Capitol Police didn't get enough resources for the amount of people that were there, when we already went through this last year, when this was already told they needed more reinforcement, and they were denied multiple times the reinforcement, and the limited reinforcement they had to go to the bombs, not the mob. And then the mob got more radical or more excited as the hours went by. So, and what's even weirder is the fact that throughout the entire Biden administration, they never caught this guy. Isn't that weird? It's the same FBI. Like, the only thing that's different is the actual leaders on the top, but like the same agents are in there. So why is it that Biden didn't catch this guy? That's odd, isn't it? So I think Director Wray should be subpoenaed. I think that he has a lot of answering to do. And I don't know, man. There's a lot of weird, sketchy things going on with this, because this to me looks like this was staged to make January 6th look like what it was. This looks like a trap for those that went and fell for it because of a lack of reinforcement that had to be diverted to the pipe bombers. And then what happened on January 6th happened. And then the media was able to run on that for years. They were able to find everybody on that day, even those who were not there. They were able to find and arrest and indict on bogus charges They served their time. Some people committed suicide because they couldn't withstand being in a prison cell. Okay? We don't talk about those people. But the guy who almost blew up the Capitol and Kamala Harris went by, nobody finds him? And Kamala Harris never questions the FBI as to where's the status on that case that she almost died in. That's just weird. Very weird. So, like Candice Owens, I'm just asking questions. But unlike Candice Owens, I actually want to know the real answers to these questions I have doubts on. I'm not speculating just to speculate. So, let's move on to Minnesota's $1 billion fraud scheme. This is huge.
And meantime, the federal government is now sending Treasury Department investigators to Minnesota looking for connections between those convicted of fraud and terrorism dollars. It's a claim Fox 9 investigated back in 2018, but federal investigators have not found the evidence. Our Corin Hoggart joining us live. And so, Corin, what are they hoping to uncover now?
Kelsey, they're looking for any evidence of money coming from Minnesota fraudsters and going to Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization operating mainly in Somalia. As far back as 2015, state fraud investigators said it was a near certainty that terrorist organizations siphoned off at least some of the proceeds of fraud that gets sent overseas. Now, Republicans see fraud as a chief political weakness of Governor Tim Walz, and they requested the federal investigation after recent reporting followed up on that 2018 Fox 9 investigation into fraud in the Child Care Assistance Program. Since then, criminals have stolen an estimated $1 billion from Minnesota social service programs.
We don't know where all of this money is going, and I think Minnesotans deserve to know if their money is going to buy real estate overseas, if it's allowing people to buy luxury cars here at home, and if any of that money is potentially going into bad actors' hands in Somalia.
My message is simple on this. You commit fraud in Minnesota, you're going to prison. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are. Anybody who wants to help us in that, we welcome that.
Then why didn't you do anything?
And Corin, federal prosecutors have filed charges against
this man should be
dozens
arrested.
of people. So what have they revealed about following the money?
Yeah, they've definitely traced fraud proceeds to real estate transactions in Kenya, luxury purchases in the U.S. They've also previously charged Somalis for ties to Al-Shabaab here in Minnesota, but they have not connected fraud to terrorists, at least not yet.
Yeah,
and how did the new investigation come about, and how can it get farther than maybe these investigations that have already happened?
Yeah, Kelsey, this started this time with local Republicans making that request, and then President Trump spent last night posting 160 times in 5 hours on Truth Social, including several messages aimed at Governor Walz. Today, or yesterday actually, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he announced the new investigation while the president was posting about this. And local Republicans tell me that Treasury may actually be able to provide more expertise on international money laundering. So that is an angle that they want pursued that they don't believe has been pursued to date.
All right, thank you for.
Oh man, this is so big. People don't realize how big this is. $1 billion scam under the nose of a Democrat. Doesn't that sound familiar? I don't know if you guys remember, because I know that a lot of people have amnesia, but just a couple months ago, a couple of lives ago, better said, California was caught with also a $1 billion fraud scheme with the homeless program. So we're closing in on them. It's happening, and I'm so grateful for it. Let's watch the next one. Oh man. Oh, this is this is crazy. This is crazy.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also
I
saying
wouldn't be proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. and she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? That beautiful land, that beautiful state. It's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with... go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country, and without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon. I hope.
Nah, se te perdió ahí.
Somalia, what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's
Can you
not
pause that really
even
quick?
believable.
Like, listen, look, I'm not trying to be a bitch. But it's like, who's gonna go to Somalia for vacation? Like, honestly. Like, you know, like, people go to Egypt because of the pyramids, you know? You know, people are actually trying, like, going to Saudi Arabia now, too, because they realize there's actually more pyramids there than there are in Egypt. And they don't give you that much of a hard time for a tourist because they're desperate for tourism, unlike Egypt. But who's going to Somalia? Like, who is going? I want to know who is going to Somalia for vacation.
People who like pirates.
Okay, because there is. I don't. You know, we watch a lot of like people that go to different places and they travel all around the world. And I have yet to see one of them go to Somalia, okay? And they've gone to India, okay? They've gone to like the most disgusting places in India. Sorry to the Indians, all right? I love you guys, the ones that are here. You guys are super smart, very techie and stuff. But listen, like your country though, okay, has a lot of work to do, okay? And so does mine. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, you have a lot of work to do. Let's watch the next one. This one is what really rattled people up. It's this one. In case the other one didn't do it, this one will.
Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars. Billions. Every year.
Billions.
Billions of dollars. And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%.
It's 42 or 43%, but that's pretty bad stuff.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
All right, so this is a third curse word. He started with fuck, and then retard, and now we're saying bitch. Oh shit. Okay. Let me put my 2 cents into all that. There was a lot going on there, Trump. Jesus. Okay. All right. Woo. Okay. So, yes, I agree with him that if you're coming from a third world country, you don't have any right to be complaining. Okay, like zero. There should be zero complaining whatsoever. You should be grateful that you're here. You should be grateful that you have a job. You should be grateful that you have food every day, a roof over your head, running water that you can drink from. I don't recommend it, but you can drink from it without ending up in the hospital. So, that's something. And Somalians right now are just the test dummy to what he feels about all the other countries. Okay. My country, Cuba, is the same. Cuba is a shit hole of a country. It's very sad, but it is. It is so bad that people are dying left and right because there is now a pandemic in the country that is only happening in the country because of how disgusting it has become, that it has infested a bacteria that people are catching and dying from. That is how disgusting Cuba has become. This was a country that was one of the richest countries in the world in the 40s and 50s. This was a country that the American government relied on for tobacco, for rum, and for sugar. And now it's disgusting. It is so bad, Cubans aren't even visiting right now because of how disgusting it is. But you know who's at fault for that? Cubans. That's who's at fault. Because what did Cubans do? They fled. That's what they did. Not only did they flee, because if you want to flee, flee. My parents did it. I get it. But how did you flee? You gave money to Cuba. So you came here, right? You fled your country because it was a shithole of a country to live in. And you couldn't raise your family like that, right? So you come here, you work your ass off to go and send money back to your country, right? How do you expect the people there to fight for their country if you're literally giving them money to survive, like in the shithole they're living in? How are you improving the actual problem you fled from if you are literally funding the problem, not even in the country anymore? And that's what all these immigrants are doing. Somalis, unfortunately, have abused the living crap out of the system, but Cubans did the same thing, just not at that big of a scale. But Cubans were known in Florida to literally be known for fraud when it comes to insurance on cars. They would purposely get into car accidents, and we were known for that here. You know how embarrassing that is? Oh, you're a Cuban. Oh, you guys are like known for car insurance fraud. That's like a thing here in Florida, FYI, to anybody who doesn't know that. So this is not just a Somali problem. Americans feel like that about many immigrants because we come here and instead of us learning the ways of the American and building ourselves up, we learn the minimal amount and we continue to have that immigrant mentality of how we were in our own country. Laz and I, we came here so young, we don't know what that mentality is. Thank God. We came here like pre-K kindergarten, So we have no idea what that mentality even feels like. But our family members do. So they still have this mentality. Like I go to family events and they're talking about Cuba. They haven't been there in decades and they're talking about Cuba, and it's like, bro, like this is why Cuba is the way it is, because you don't want to let it go. You don't want to let it go. And it's like, then why the fuck did you leave if all you talk about is Cuba? And then when you work, you're like, oh, I have to give this much money to my family over here, I have to make sure this family, and it's like, no, you left. That means everything that you left should stay behind. And if you want to bring somebody, then you should bring them over here. But continuing to give money to that country is the reason why the country is where it is. People are dying in the thousands and nobody's reporting it. You don't see the United Nations talking about it. They talked about Gaza. They've been talking about Gaza for years, but nobody talked about Haiti. Nobody talked about Cuba. Nobody was talking about Venezuela until the other day, thanks to Trump talking about Maduro. So I personally think Trump is not just talking about Somalis. They're just a scapegoat. He's talking about every single immigrant who comes from a third world country who refuses to assimilate and abuse this country for the resources and send it back to their country. The whole thing with Al-Shabaab, I mean, that's pretty bad. If you're an American citizen, if you're to all Somalians out there, I did a video for you guys, and I recommend whoever knows any Somalian, go watch that video. Because if you're an American citizen and you are caught committing fraud and sending it to a terrorist organization, you can be denaturalized from citizenship and sent back to Somalia or any third world country that is willing to take you if Somalia doesn't want to. So this perspective that Ilhan Omar has, oh, we're here to stay, we're American citizens, bitch, that don't mean shit. If they catch you committing fraud and sending it to a terrorist organization, that means you are involved with a terrorist organization. That means you can no longer be a citizen, because to be a citizen, that means loyalty to the country, which is why the birthright citizenship is being questioned, because jurisdiction thereof means loyalty, but liberals don't want to talk about that. Well, we're going to have to talk about that real soon, because people that are citizens need to recognize what that actually means in real time. So that means Cuban citizens, Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, anybody that's a citizen that came from a third world country, you either are loyal to this country or you leave. It's that simple. That's what this is all about. It's about loyalty to the country you decided to pledge to. All right. So before we talk about Obamacare, I have a video on Instagram that I want to show you guys. Follow me, Mary_Truths. Check it out. Fraud that's happening in the billions in Minnesota, a Democrat-governed state. You got fraud that happened recently in California, again, Democrat-governed state. And then now we just find out that there's fraud going on in Obamacare because of the tax credit subsidies, and that was a fully only voted in law by Democrats. Does anybody not see a pattern here? All right, so we got Obamacare subsidies that is found to have been fraudulent. And I know personally this is the case because when the Obamacare subsidies under Biden expanded to a $400% cap, that meant any person making $60,000 a year was able to get the subsidies. Okay. What do you think insurance companies did? They hired marketing companies, and these marketing companies would hire agents that would do direct marketing or indirect marketing for them. So you would have people on the street, literally, asking people if they had health insurance, and if they didn't, they would sign them up because they didn't have to pay anything. Most people would be like, if I don't have to pay anything and I don't have health insurance, what do I need to give you? And people would have to give their private information to this person they don't know anything about, but that person said they were an agent for that insurance provider. The other person believed it because they needed health insurance at no cost to them. You know what I'm talking about. And that person who got the insurance was probably making, let's say, $40,000, $50,000 a year. The agent is they can say whatever they want because of the tax subsidies. They can say they're making $30K, $20K. The lower the income, the more benefits that other person gets. And it's a 100% shoo-in that that's going to get approved. Guess what? That was happening. Finally, the report came out that there was millions of applications that were fraudulent because of that. I'm going to read a little bit about it. And when I read this, I was like, wow, this is absolutely incredible. Because I know all about this. Let's try to see if I can find it here. I had it and it went away. Where is that? Where you at? House Chairman Gal. Copy, paste. All right, let's see. Here we go. All right, Government Accountability Office is what GAO is. So Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. So this report discusses the preliminary results of our work on fraud risk management in the advanced premium tax credits, a subsidy that the government pays to insurance companies to make premiums more affordable for eligible Americans under the Affordable Care Act. Let's repeat that. The insurance company, okay, let's go back here. The insurance company gets the subsidy from the government in order to give the customer a cheaper premium. Okay? Now, how are the insurance companies going to confirm that the people applying are actually giving correct information? Well, they don't. There's no oversight. That's why we have this department, apparently. So far, we found that fraud risk have persisted since we first reported on this since 2014. For example, we were able to subsidize insurance for fake enrollees. We also found some issues with enrollees' social security numbers that could indicate identity fraud. The program's fraud risk were last assessed in 2018, even though the program and its risk have since evolved. So this is what they did. The federal market in 2024, the federal marketplace approved subsidized coverage for all 4 of GAO's fictitious applicants. So they created fake applications, this department, and they sent it over to the marketplace. In total, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services paid about $2,350 per month in November and December for these fictitious enrollees. Again, no oversight. Didn't even confirm whether this was real or not. For some, the federal market requested documentation to support social security numbers, citizenship, and reported income. GAO did not provide documentation, yet they received coverage. Okay. In 2025, they created 20 fictitious applicants. 18 remained actively covered as of September 2025. These 18 enrollees total over $10,000 per month. GAO continues to monitor the enrollments as part of its ongoing work. So they're literally creating fake applications to prove that there is no oversight for the marketplace, and these fake people are being covered by taxpayers when they're not even real, which tells you that this has been a scam from the very beginning. You mean to tell me that when the legislature did the law, the Affordable Care Act, you mean to tell me they didn't think that they should have guardrails? You thought that people were just going to be like these loyal, good people that would never do any wrong, and the insurance companies wouldn't, be making billions of dollars off of this? Like the fact that Democrats shut down the government for this should tell you everything you need to know about that party. Listen, I'm not trying to be partisan here. I'm just giving you reality for what it is. They were the ones who passed that into law. It was not bipartisan. There was not even one Republican that signed on to that law. Okay? So off rip, Democrats are already at fault because they were the ones responsible for making that law. They should have been responsible for making the guardrails. They chose not to. Now, they shut down the government fighting for those subsidies. And it turns out that these subsidies have been fraudulent and have been covering people without confirmation that they should even get the subsidies, without confirming that they are even real people. So who wins here? Well, the insurance companies and the marketing companies working with the insurance companies. Because the insurance companies don't do the legwork. They just provide the coverage. But they need to expand their coverage to as many people as possible. And that's where the marketing companies come in. So these two arms made a lot of money thanks to the Democrat Party. And they shut down the government for over a month. Took away people's food stamps. The very benefits that they claim that the Republicans are cutting, right? Because of the big, beautiful bill. But yet you literally cut it for over a month because of these subsidies. When it turns out these subsidies are fraudulent. So taxpayers are being literally scammed in real time right now. We are being scammed right now because of the Democrats. And then they have the balls. They have the balls to be like, oh no, we're the ones trying to save the health insurance. No, you're not. You're trying to save the insurance companies from getting their ass handed to them by the federal government for scamming taxpayers. That's what you're trying to protect. And yourself, of course. You're not trying to protect us. If you really wanted to protect us, then you should have created guardrails when you passed that law. And you didn't. Which means to me, there might be a kickback to the Democrats. But I don't know. It's not a definitive statement. I'm not trying to defame the Democrat Party. I'm just saying I find it weird that you guys are all about limits when it comes to gun control, but when it came to this, you didn't want no type of limits. So who knows? Maybe there's a kickback. But we'll find out because they're going to dig deeper on this. And I'm dying to know more information about this. So let's talk about the election results in Tennessee. Red won, but by very little. Very, very little. Did you find it?
Yeah, it says Patriot.
Wait, no. It's a video.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Republican Matt Van Epps pulled off a win for Tennessee's 7th congressional district.
What was expected to be a low turnout special election in an off year took a turn in the last couple of weeks. Jaxie Pigeon is here now to break down the results. Jaxie, good morning.
Well, Nicole and Mark, the victory by Van Epps was key in preventing an upset by Democrat Afton Bain, allowing the GOP to retain the seat in their reliably red district. Here's a look at the final results. Van Epps won with 54% of the vote compared to Bain's 45%. The district encompasses 14 counties, going from Clarksville through part of Nashville and down to the Alabama state line. Bain dominated in Davidson County. She received nearly 33,000 votes and about 78% of the vote compared to Van Epps' 22%. It was the only county she won. Now, one of the closest contests was in Montgomery County, the largest vote share in the district. Van Epps won the county with 53% of the vote compared to Bain's 45%.
All right.
In 2024,
he won by a very, 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 very slim margin, which is not good at all. What that means is Republicans are not going to the polls. Republican people, not the party. Republican people are not going to the polls because they're the ones, because their party's in power, versus the Democrats are running to the polls because they believe that, we're living under a dictatorship and there's Nazis in power and yada, yada, yada. So if Republicans and the people that support them don't get their shit together, the Democrats are going to win the midterms next year and we're fucked. All right. So this is a game. But this is a game that actually affects your life in real time. People who say, oh, politics don't matter, they're ignorant people. Sorry, but you're ignorant. You're ignorant because you refuse to know how it works. And that's okay. You can just say that you don't understand it. You don't have to say it doesn't matter, because it does. It literally affects your life. It affects your gas. It affects the investment in your states, in your cities, the food prices. It affects everything. So this is a warning to anybody on the right, any conservative, that if you do not vote we will lose the midterms. And if we lose the midterms, everything Trump will want to continue to do until his term is over will not be able to do, because these scumbags we call Democrats are going to try to impeach this man over and over and over again like they did in 2016. Their pattern is so predictable that I think it's just, at this point, exhausting. It's like you can't come up with something new. Like, we already know what you're going to do. So I personally think these elections should wake people up. This is a warning sign. Wake up, because if you do not vote, this will affect your life and everybody else around you. Okay? We are getting used to gas prices already going down. Okay? We don't need this to get screwed up. We don't need anything. We want this to continue. Okay? So if you want this to continue, you need to go and vote. Forget about the fact that the Republicans are in power. It doesn't matter. You want to keep them in power? You need to go and vote. Voting matters. Politics matters. Okay? Let's talk about the Civil Rights Act. So there's no video on that. It's just me talking. So the Civil Rights Act is in question. I'll tell you why. People are already, I know, already see it. Oh, it's in question because the right is against, I don't know. I don't even know what excuse you would have, but, oh, they're racist. That's right. That's the excuse. They're racist. They're bigots, and that's why the Civil Rights Act is in question. But actually, that's not why. So Title VI says you cannot discriminate based on race in any government program that receives federal funds. Redistricting that purposely reduces representation for blacks or Latinos violates it. The Louisiana and Texas case, the lower federal courts said that they were illegal. The maps, the gerrymandering was illegal. Louisiana federal courts ruled that the legislature diluted black voting power by drawing only one majority black district, even though Louisiana is nearly 1/3 black. Anybody with a brain that can rationalize will see how retarded that is. But I'm going to get to this, okay? I'm just getting started. The court found black voters were numerous and concentrated enough for a second district. Okay. Voting Rights Act required a second district, according to them. The legislature ignored race entirely because it's actually illegal to put the gerrymandering based off of race, according to the Civil Rights Act. But there is a section in the Civil Rights Act that's called vote dilution. And according to the federal courts, they were not taking the Section 2 into account. Okay? So Texas drew maps that the court said intentionally fractured Latino and black communities, eliminated minority opportunities districts despite population growth being almost entirely Latino and black. Were crafted to preserve partisan power by sorting voters by race. The court found intentional discrimination, which violates the 14th Amendment Equal Protections Clause, Voting Rights Act Section 2, the Civil Rights Act via federal funding rules. Okay. Now, Democrats are arguing that if states ignore race completely, maps will naturally disadvantage minorities. So according to Democrats, we have to focus on race to make these maps. Because if we don't, then it's racist. Reverse racism is racist. But okay, I'm still getting into this. If you haven't gotten it yet, don't worry, I'll help you. Minority groups often live in concentrated areas. Racially polarized voting exists, meaning whites and minorities prefer different candidates. That's racist. Okay. Without race-conscious districts, that's also racist. Minority candidates almost never win. Very oppressive mentality. So to comply with the Voting Rights Act, they say you must look at race to avoid vote dilution, which is the opposite of what the Civil Rights Act entails, is to not look at color, okay? But according to Democrats, we have to look at color because if you don't, then you discriminate on the minority groups, okay? This isn't ideological. According to, there is a case called Thornburg versus Gingles, which means minority voters actually vote cohesively So there's empirical data. Majority voters actually vote as a block in ways that defeat minority preferred candidates. And this happens consistently, not occasionally. They involve ecological regression, election returns, voter behavior modeling. What vote dilution proponents say, they're saying is, we are protecting minority voters from being consistently outvoted due to racial block voting. All right, I'm getting real heated here because I am ready to expose how retarded this is. I like saying that word today. I don't know, ever since Trump said it, it just rolls off the tongue. All right, so let's go back. I know I said a lot of lingo here. So the reason why Louisiana and Texas are being questioned, and they're saying, and the court said that the way they gerrymandered their maps to get more congressional seats for Republicans, because they have the space to do that, unlike the blue states, the way they did it was illegal because of voter dilution, which is Section 2 of the Civil Rights Act, Section Title 6. Okay? Now, this is what part that doesn't make sense. And I hope that the Supreme Court rules in my favor. So, they're claiming that they need voter dilution because minority groups don't vote the same way as majority, meaning they're claiming that black voters and Latino voters don't vote like white voters do. That's what they're saying. Okay. So we need a whole section in a law to protect them. Only them, not whites, just them. Okay. But this is what the data shows on a national level. On average, black voters vote Democrat 85 to 95% of the time. Latino voters vote Democrat 60 to 75% of the time. So to me, it sounds like Democrats are using voter dilution as a way to have a permanent Democrat Party representation in every single red state. Because this is not happening in blue states because they've already gerrymandered the shit out of their states. This is only happening in red states because there's actually an opportunity for more Republican representation. So to avoid more Republican representation, they're saying, no. There is something called voter dilution. It is Section 2 of the Civil Rights Act, Title 6. And it says that a minority group has protection over the majority group because they think differently, right? But this is the reality. That is racist because you are claiming that a black person and a Hispanic person vote based off of skin color and a white person votes based off of policy. When the reality is the Civil Rights Act is an individual law based off of individual people, and everybody should be voting based off of policy, regardless what color you are. So to me, when the Supreme Court relooks at this, because right now it's on pause, people think it's like a win, like, whoa, yeah. No, it's on pause. The Supreme Court, what they did was they just put it on pause. Like, look, we're going to leave these maps the way they are because there's an election next year. And there's something called the Purcell principle, which pretty much means that the Supreme Court avoids changing election rules to avoid causing confusion, disrupts candidate filings, and it risks invalidating ballots. So that's why they said, we're not going to touch this case right now. We're going to touch it once the midterms are over. But when the midterms are over, I pray that they are rational enough to realize that voter dilution is just a way to legally force Democrat representation in all red states. That's what that is. Because it is racist to say that a Latino and a black person will only vote for somebody that looks like them. When at the end of the day, they are people, doesn't matter what color they are, and they're going to vote based off of what the person says and how they relates to them, not how the person looks like. So that's what I think. We're going to see what happens with that case, but I will be following it. So let's talk about the immigration crackdown. A lot of things have been going on about this. So let's take a look at this video.
In the wake of the National Guard shooting, the Trump administration now says that they have paused immigration applications for people from 19 countries. That includes requests for green cards and U.S. citizenship. The policy applies to the nations listed in the president's travel ban that was issued back in June. On that list are Haiti and Somalia, frequent targets of Trump's anti-immigration rhetoric.
Cuba, of course.
CBS News Immigration and Politics.
All right. So those are all the countries that are pretty much being directly affected by what's going on right now. So I'm not surprised. Cuba, right? Cuba. The people that are coming out of Cuba right now are not the people that were coming out of Cuba in the 90s. I am just saying, okay? I'm just saying it's a different Cuba, that's for sure. So all these countries are the countries that if you are getting a green card, your green card is going to be reviewed. If you are getting citizenship, your citizenship is going to be reviewed. And anybody who has their oath ceremony, that is getting canceled. That's already been happening across the board starting this week. Ever since that Afghan killed the National Guard woman and then shot the other one who was still trying to stay alive. This is the repercussions, but this was going to happen anyway, regardless of what happened to the soldiers, because these countries are all third world countries with no infrastructure, no nothing, no real education. Like I said, I'm speaking of just Cuba alone. The Cubans that are coming out of Cuba right now are not the same Cubans that were coming out when my parents left. Okay. So just the way they were raised is different. So their mentality is going to be different. And to me, they're more savage, I guess you can say, than the ones that came in the early 2000s or the 90s. I would like to use another word, but the word I want to use is in Spanish, and you guys don't know what the hell that is. So I guess savage, more ratchet, really, really what's the word I'm looking for? Illiterate, because the education is really bad. So yeah, let's look at the next one here.
Restrictions are tightening for those seeking green cards and citizenship in the United States.
22 News State House reporter Olivia Ray has a look at shifting regulations and how one Massachusetts advocacy group is reacting.
The United States is pressing pause on reviewing citizenship, green card, and asylum applications for immigrants from 19 countries. This change was announced on Tuesday and applies to immigrants from countries already listed in a travel ban, including Afghanistan, Cuba, Haiti, Sudan, and Venezuela, among others. The Department of Homeland Security defended
anybody who
this
makes money
change,
off of
saying,
muling
quote,
over there is
"The Trump
screwed."
administration is making every effort to ensure individuals becoming citizens are the best of the best. Citizenship is a privilege, not a right." In addition to the pause, which has no published end date, the United States Citizenship Review Agency will be taking another look at previously approved applications from immigrants from the 19 countries as far back as 2021. Pushback from advocacy groups has been quick and condemning, focusing on the nature of America, a country born from immigrants. The executive director of MIRA, a prolific immigration organization, sent a statement to 22 News, saying, quote, "The Trump administration turning its back on individuals fleeing violence and instability is cruel, callous, and hurts Americans and our economy." The coalition says it is a move that will greatly increase backlogs and delays for immigrants seeking legal pathways to citizenship. This change in review timeline.
Okay. So I have two videos for you that I think, 3 videos actually, that I think are going to explain in such a beautiful way why so many immigrants from third world countries here is not a good idea. I can't believe I am, not only do I agree with Nick Fuentes, I agree with Ann Coulter. If you don't know who Ann Coulter is, she's the one who told Vivek, "I will not vote for you because you're Indian." She didn't give a shit. All respect to her, bro. It is what it is. You can vote for who the hell you want. So yeah, if we have too many people from third world countries coming here, they're not going to assimilate. There's a level of education that it needs to have in order for you to assimilate into a country, a first world country. And if you're coming from a third world country or a fourth world country, you're not going to be able to assimilate because you don't have the capacity intellectually to do that. So that's all I gotta say. I want to show you these videos. All right, can you show that really quick?
We're in Dearborn. This is the call of prayer that goes off 5 times a day here in the United States.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear this blasting through your neighborhood?
You still want third world people coming here? All right, let's watch the next one. Let's find out where that mosque is.
So everybody has a better understanding of where this mosque actually is. This right here is a neighborhood. This right here is a neighborhood. It's an entire neighborhood. It goes all the way down. As we can see, it's a neighborhood. It's a mosque in the middle of a neighborhood. We have the neighborhood behind the mosque. So here is the mosque, the side of the mosque. This is the neighborhood behind the mosque. Here you can see boys' entrance.
They have segregated entrances.
Girls' entrance. Just so everybody has a
All right. Now, that was Dearborn, Michigan, okay? Let's look at Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm ready.
This is a momentous occasion for inclusion and freedom of religion in Minneapolis. With the stroke of this pen, we and our Muslim community will have the ability to hear the call to prayer in Adhan 5 times a day. But importantly, this is not just about our Muslim community. This is about all of us that have some form of faith or religion. From the church bells to the blow of the shofar to Adhan and the call to prayer. This is about inclusion, peace, and freedom of religion.
All right. Yeah. So, still want third world people here? And I'm not saying, like, listen, I don't even want people from Cuba coming here. Because, like I said, Cuba is real bad right now. It is worse now than it was during, what is that thing called that they always talk about? El periodo especial. Yeah, there's something, the special period, which is like the Great Depression of Cuba, where like they were pretty much starving. It was, yeah, I don't know why they call it periodo especial, but whatever. It's el periodo especial then was royalty compared to what's happening right now in Cuba. Okay, so, and considering it's that bad, I wouldn't want anybody that's living in that right now to come here. And I'm Cuban. So when people are saying, oh, how can you say that? Because it's the truth. If you are raised in a country that has no infrastructure for you to even hold a job to feed your family, if you are coming from a country that doesn't even have proper medication to avoid having dead bodies on the ground, why on earth would I want to bring those people here in a first world country when you don't even know, you can't even, like, I don't know, you don't know what living is. You don't know what surviving is because you've been living in that your whole life. And that may sound terrible to people. It's like, oh, but you know, don't they have a right to a better life? Yeah, they do. So why can't they improve the life that they're currently living in that country? Why can't they do that? Why is it that we have to get every single homeless person on the street. Why? Why can't other countries take those homeless people? Why does America have to be responsible for every single homeless person in the world? We're not a homeless shelter for every single homeless person in every country who doesn't know how to improve their country. So, to me, as somebody born in Cuba, I know how disgusting it is to live there, and I do not want anybody who lives there to come here, because again, it is infected with diseases and bacteria. Why on earth would you want to jeopardize the people living here when people are been living like that all this time? So I think there needs to be a serious conversation about immigrants in third world countries. And there needs to be, and this has to be among immigrants. So there needs to be more immigrants talking about this, because when an American talks about it, the Latino's like, oh, he's a gringo. What does he know? Okay, well, I'm not a gringa. Okay, so we need more immigrants talking about this. I am just one person. We need more of me talking about this. Why is it important for people from third world countries to assimilate, and also why we should stop people from third world countries from coming here? We've had enough of them. I think we need to just work on those who are here and help them assimilate into society. And then maybe in the future, we can allow more if. But right now, we need to have these conversations. That's all I got to say about that. And I'm going to talk about this last thing. I'm almost done, babe. I know you're like ready to eat, because we eat after the live. So the last thing I want to talk about was this. This is a conversation that's been talked about. A lot of MAGA people, by the way, anybody who's watching, thank you so much for watching. I haven't said subscribe, so subscribe, like and share. You guys are the reason why we're 500 subscribers, so thank you guys so much for supporting. This conversation has been just roaming around and it's been pissing me off, and we're going to talk about it real quick. Should a naturalized citizen be able to serve public office? A lot of Americans that are very pro-MAGA, America first, America only, are saying no. If you are a foreigner who has assimilated and you have naturalized and you are not a citizen, because you are a foreigner, you don't have the right to become a mayor or governor, representative or senator or any of those things. And I disagree with that, because I assimilated. I learned the language, which is more than most Americans can say they've done. And this idea that, oh, if you're a foreigner, you're going to be like Ilhan Omar, who's a traitor and she only focuses on Somalians, that's not true. There are plenty of representatives, for example, my representative, Maria Salazar, who is literally trying to get a bill called the Dignity Act to help people that are in this immigration limbo, who've been here for over 10 years, to have some type of legal status in this country. That's going to happen hopefully next year, but we need to win the midterms for that to happen. But she's an example of somebody who was born in Cuba and came here a little older, because she has a thicker accent, but she is a great patriot for the American people, and she represents everybody, not just Cubans. So this idea that Americans have right now, that, oh, if you're a foreigner, even though you assimilated and you worked your ass off and you are an American because you've naturalized and you took the test. I know more about history than most Americans do. So why don't I have a right to go run for office if I wanted to? I'm not asking to be the president. I don't want that job, and I know I can't get it anyway. But I would like to be, if I want to run for governor or for mayor, I should have the right to do that. Why not? I think that is an overreach of superiority. You're literally acting like what the Democrats claim the MAGA movement is all about. If the MAGA movement is about superiority, then Democrats are right. And I don't believe that. I believe the MAGA movement is about making America great again, meaning America was great and it's time for us to be greater. And that means getting people to work, getting people off their asses, getting people to better themselves. That's what I think that's what MAGA is, essentially. Taking care of your health. That's why they collaborated, Robert F. Kennedy, with this. Make America healthy again. Be more conscious of your health. Pay attention to your body, all that stuff. That is all about becoming a better American, is about making America great again. So this idea that a lot of Americans have that are overly nationalist, that because you're a foreigner, even though you're a citizen now, you don't have the right to be a governor or a mayor. That to me sounds like you want a second-class society of people to look down to. And if you claim that you're not Nazis, that you're not white supremacists, that you're not racist, that you're not bigots, and I don't believe you are, then denounce that mentality. I'm speaking to those Americans directly. Denounce that mentality, because it is a toxic, hateful mentality to have. I have every right to run for office because I deserve it. I earned that right by learning your language. You try learning mine. Let's see how far you go. So that's where I'm at there. And I hope this parasitic perspective goes away, because it does not help the movement. We already have assholes like Candice Owens messing it up, and Ben Shapiro's messing it up, and Tucker Carlson messing it up, and Nick Fuentes messing it up. We don't need Americans now saying anybody who was not born here does not have a right to serve this country. So that's where I'm at there. Guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for the next